When you're on the verge of something great, when God is about to release something big into your life, resistance will show up in ways you never imagined. It will come at you from every angle, sometimes so subtly that you don't even recognize it for what it is, and other times so forcefully that you feel like giving up. But what most people don't realize is that this resistance is not a sign that you're on the right one. You see, resistance always appears when you are stepping out of your comfort zone. The mind, the body, and even the circumstances around you will begin to push back because change disrupts the status quo. Your old way of thinking, your old habits, your old environment, everything that has been keeping you at a certain level will suddenly feel like it's trying to hold on to you, trying to keep you where you've always been. It's not because you are meant to stay there, but because growth always comes with growing pains. Think about it. Whenever you've attempted to do something new, whenever you've reached for something greater, hasn't there always been some kind of challenge standing in the way? Maybe it was fear making you second guess yourself. Maybe it was self-doubt, whispering lies about your abilities. Maybe it was people around you questioning your decisions, trying to plant seeds of hesitation in your mind. Maybe it was external obstacles, unexpected problems, sudden financial setbacks, unforeseen roadblocks. Whatever form it took, resistance showed up because you were moving forward. And that's exactly what happens when God is about to take you to another level. But here's the part most people don't understand. Resistance isn't there to stop you. It's there to strengthen you. It's there to test whether you are truly ready for what you are asking for. See, God doesn't just hand out blessings without preparation. He doesn't just pour out greatness on someone who isn't equipped to handle it. And the way he prepares you is by allowing resistance to refine you. Because if you cannot push past the challenges, if you cannot withstand the opposition, if you allow the pressure to break you instead of build you, then you won't be able to sustain the blessing once you receive it. Look at every person who has achieved something significant. Every person who has stepped into a new level of success, purpose, or influence. None of them got there without facing resistance. None of them stepped into their calling without first enduring a season of testing. And if you talk to them, if you really listen to their stories, you'll notice a shifting into a level that your old self cannot go with you. And here's the truth. Your breakthrough is not coming, it is already here. But before you can step into it, you have to be willing to push through the resistance. You have to be willing to embrace the discomfort, to keep moving even when it feels like everything is trying to hold you back. Because that pressure, that pushback, that resistance, it's not there to defeat you. It's there to prepare you. Emotional storms do not come into your life without reason. They are not random, nor are they a sign that you are failing. When God is about to give you something big, when he is shifting you into a new season, your emotions will respond before your reality does. You will feel the change before you see the change. Your spirit will sense the transformation before your circumstances reflect. This is why right before something great happens, people often experience the most intense feelings of fear, doubt, anxiety, and even frustration. It is not because you are on the wrong path. It is because your breakthrough is near and your emotions are simply reacting to the unseen shift that is taking place. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that right before a storm hits, the atmosphere changes, the sky darkens, the wind picks up, the air feels heavier, charged with energy? Nature itself responds to what is about to happen. The same thing happens in your life. When a blessing is on the horizon, when God is aligning you for something greater, the atmosphere of your life begins to shift. But instead of wind and dark clouds, you feel it in your emotion. You experience sudden waves of doubt. You begin questioning your own abilities. You feel like you are being stretched beyond your limits. And if you do not understand what is happening, you might misinterpret these feelings as a sign to give up. Many people mistake emotional storms as indicators that they are off track. They assume that if they were truly on the right path, everything would feel peaceful. They think that stepping into God's plan should come with ease, that they should feel confident and assured at every step. But that is not how growth works. That is not how transformation happens. When God is preparing you for something big, He will stir things up inside of you. He will allow you to feel uncomfortable because discomfort is what pushes you to evolve. Think about a child learning how to walk. At first they stumble, they fall, they get frustrated. There is a moment when they might even cry, overwhelmed by the difficulty of something that looks so easy when others do it. But that frustration is necessary. That struggle is part of the process. Without it, they would never learn how to balance, how to take steady steps, how to build the strength they need to walk. The same principle applies to you. The emotions you are feeling, the doubt, the impatience, the fear, are not there to break you. They are there to build you. The problem is that most people do not recognize this process. Instead of pushing through, they let their emotions dictate their decisions. They allow fear to paralyze them. They let doubt convince them to turn back. They mistake temporary discomfort for permanent failure. And because they do not understand that these feelings are part of the preparation, they give up right before their breakthrough. What you have to realize is that emotions are temporary. Feelings fluctuate. They come and go like waves in the ocean. But your purpose, your destiny, your calling, those things are solid. They do not waver just because you are having a difficult day. They do not disappear just because you are feeling uncertain. Your emotions may shift, but the assignment God has placed on your life remains the same. So when you find yourself in the middle of an emotional storm, when your thoughts are filled with doubts and worries, take a step back and ask yourself, what is God preparing me for? Because if your emotions are being stirred up, it is because something is moving in the spiritual realm. If your mind is filled with questions, it is because an answer is on the way. If you are feeling shaken, it is because something in your life is about to shift. But here's the key. You must not let your emotions make the decision for you. You must not allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent choices. What you feel in this moment is not the truth. It is just a reaction to the transition you are going through. Your breakthrough is closer than you think, but if you let fear win, if you let frustration take control, you risk walking away from something that is already yours. Most people do not fail because they lack potential. They do not miss their blessings because they're unqualified. They miss them because they allow emotions to talk them out of what was meant for them. They let temporary storms convince them that the promise was never real. But the truth is, the storm is proof that the promise is on the way. The emotions you are battling are evidence that something is shifting. And if you can push through, if you can hold on just a little longer, you will see that everything you have been waiting for is already being put into place. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your future. Before anything can change in your life, it must first change in your mind. When God is about to give you something big, your thinking will be the first thing to resist it. Your old paradigm, your established beliefs, your conditioned thoughts, your habitual ways of seeing the world will not just step aside and make room for the new. It will fight against it. It will push back. And if you are not aware of this process, you may mistake the battle in your mind as a sign to turn back instead of a signal to press forward. A paradigm is nothing more than a collection of thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes that have been reinforced over time. It is the mental programming that dictates how you interpret the world, how you respond to opportunities, and even how you handle challenges. And here's the thing, your current paradigm is built to sustain the life you have right now, not the life you are about to step into. That means when God is elevating you, when He is preparing to bring something bigger into your life, your paradigm will resist. Not because it wants to harm you, but because it is designed to keep you in the familiar. Your mind is like a thermostat. If a room is set to 70 degrees, the thermostat will work to maintain that temperature. If the room gets too hot, the thermostat activates the air conditioning to cool it down. If it gets too cold, the heat turns on. This is exactly what happens when you try to elevate your life. If your mind is conditioned to a certain level of success, joy, or abundance, the moment you start to go beyond that level, your paradigm will try to cool you down. It will trigger thoughts of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. It will remind you of past failures. It will tell you that you are not ready, not qualified, or not worthy. Not because any of these things are true, but because your paradigm is trying to pull you back to the temperature it is used to. This is why so many people self-sabotage right before a breakthrough. They get an opportunity, but talk themselves out of it. They step into a new season, but allow old fears to drag them back. They start making progress, but feel so uncomfortable outside their old paradigm that they unconsciously find ways to slow themselves down. It's not that they aren't capable, it's that their mind hasn't been reprogrammed to accept the new reality God is trying to bring into their lives. If you want to step into something bigger, you must first break the mental barriers that are keeping you small. You must override the negative programming that tells you that you can't, that you're not ready, that you don't deserve it. Because if your mind is not aligned with what God is giving you, you will find a way to reject it, even if you don't realize you're doing it. Think about the Israelites in the Bible. God had already promised them the land of abundance. But their minds were still trapped in a slave mentality. They saw themselves as grasshoppers, too small and too weak to claim what was already theirs. And because of that mindset, an entire generation missed out on their promise. Not because the promise was real, not because God changed His mind, but because their thinking kept them stuck in the wilderness when they were supposed to be walking into their destiny. This is exactly how most people live. They pray for opportunities, but when the opportunity comes, they hesitate. They dream of success, but when success is within reach, they shrink back into fear. Not because they aren't ready, but because their mind has not accepted the idea that they are ready. And until you shift your thinking, until you break free from the old paradigm, you will keep finding yourself in the same cycle, getting close, but never quite stepping into what is meant for you. Reprogramming your mind takes work. It takes intentionality. It takes a daily commitment to thinking, speaking, and acting in alignment with where you are going instead of where you have been. It means replacing self-doubt with self-belief. It means rejecting fear-based thinking and embracing faith-based action. It means reminding yourself over and over again that you are worthy of what God is bringing into your life. Your paradigm will fight you. It will try to convince you that it is safer to stay where you are. But if you refuse to let your old mindset control you, if you push through the mental resistance, if you align your thinking with the new level you are stepping into, nothing can stop you from receiving what is already yours. When God is getting ready to move you into a new season, when he is preparing to give you something bigger than you have ever experienced, you will notice shifts happening in your life. These shifts may not always be comfortable. In fact, they will often feel like things are falling apart rather than coming together. People you were once close to may suddenly start distancing themselves. Doors that you thought were meant for you may close without warning. Plans that seemed solid may begin to crumble. And if you do not recognize what is happening, you might mistake these shifts as signs of failure rather than evidence that you are being positioned for something greater. God is a God of divine order. He does not operate in confusion, nor does he allow things to be removed from your life without purpose. When you begin to see unexpected changes, it is not because you are being punished or because you are losing control. It is because God is clearing the path for something bigger. You cannot step into a new level while still holding on to what was meant for the previous one. The things, people, and mindsets that served you in one season may not be equipped to go with you into the next. And if you try to hold on to them, you will find yourself stuck, unable to move forward into what God has already prepared for you. Think about the process of pruning. A gardener does not cut away branches from a tree to harm it. The pruning process is necessary for the tree to grow stronger, to bear more fruit, to reach its full potential. But from the outside looking in, pruning looks like loss. It looks like destruction. It looks like something is being taken away. But in reality, it is making room for something better. This is exactly how God works in our lives. When things start shifting, when relationships end, when opportunities fall through, when circumstances become uncertain, it is not because you are being abandoned. It is because you are being pruned for growth. Most people resist this process. They fight to hold on to what is being removed. They try to force doors open that God has already closed. They cling to relationships that have already served their purpose. And in doing so, they delay their own breakthrough. They slow down their own progress because they are too afraid to let go of what is familiar. But faith is not about holding on to the past. It is about trusting that what is ahead. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons to learn. It requires trust. It requires surrender. It requires believing that even when you do not understand what is happening, God is still in control. Too often people pray for growth, but resist the changes that growth requires. They ask God to enlarge their territory, but when he starts to shift things, they panic. They want the blessing, but they don't want the transition. But you cannot step into something new without first releasing what is old. Look at the story of Abraham. God told him to leave his homeland, to walk away from everything familiar, and to step into a promise that he could not yet see. Abraham had to let go of what was comfortable in order to receive what was greater. If he had refused to move, if he had clung to what was familiar, he would have never stepped into the destiny God had prepared for him. The same is true for you. When things start shifting in your life, when it feels like everything is changing, do not resist it. Do not try to hold on to what God is trying to remove. Trust that he is aligning you for something better. The sooner you accept the shifts, the sooner you will see the reason for them. The sooner you stop fighting the process, the sooner you will receive the promise. Because what looks like loss right now is actually preparation. What feels like rejection is actually redirection. What seems like confusion is actually divine alignment. And if you can trust the process, if you can surrender to the changes, you will look back and realize that everything was working in your favor all along. Every blessing comes with a test. Every breakthrough comes with a moment of decision. When God is about to give you something big, when he is shifting you into a new level, there will always be a moment where you have to choose. Will you trust him, or will you allow fear and doubt to take control? This test is not to break you, but to prepare you. It is to see if you are truly ready for what you have been praying for. Because here's the truth. God will never give you something you are not prepared to handle. He will never pour out blessings that you do not yet have the capacity to sustain. That is why before you step into a new level, before you receive the increase, before you walk into the promise, there is always a test. Tests come in different forms. Sometimes they come in the form of delay. You have been waiting, praying, believing, but nothing seems to be happening. You wonder if God has forgotten you. You start questioning whether you heard him correctly. You feel stuck in a season of waiting, and the temptation is to give up, to settle for something less, to move ahead on your own instead of trusting his timing. But the test of delay is not a denial. It is a preparation. It is God stretching your faith, teaching you patience, building the character you will need for the blessing when it comes. Because if you cannot trust him in the waiting, how will you trust him with the increase? Other times the test comes in the form of opposition. The moment you start moving toward what God has for you, obstacles show up. People start questioning you. Unexpected challenges arise. It feels like everything that could go wrong suddenly does. And the temptation is to assume that maybe this isn't meant for you. Maybe you should turn back. But opposition is a sign that you are on the right path. The enemy does not attack what is not a threat. Resistance does not come against something that is standing still. If you are facing obstacles, it is because you are moving forward. If you are feeling pressure, it is because you are stepping into something greater. Then there is the test of faith. This is the moment when you have to decide if you will trust what you see or trust what God has spoken. When circumstances do not align with the promise, when everything around you seems to contradict what you are believing for, will you still hold on? Will you still step forward when you do not have all the answers? Will you still move in faith even when fear is whispering that you should turn back? Because this is where most people miss it. They allow what they see to shake what they believe. They allow temporary circumstances to make permanent decisions. But faith is not about seeing, it is about believing. It is about standing firm even when everything around you is shaking. Look at the story of Peter walking on water. As long as his focus was on Jesus, he did the impossible. He walked above the storm, above the waves, above the very thing that should have drowned him. But the moment he looked at his circumstances, the moment he shifted his focus from faith to fear, he started sinking. This is exactly what happens when God is about to give you something big. If you keep your focus on him, if you trust his word over your worries, you will walk into things that others said were impossible. But if you allow fear to take control, if you allow doubt to shake your foundation, you will sink before you ever reach the promise. This is why tests come not to destroy you, but to prepare you, not to push you away from your blessing, but to strengthen you so you can carry it. Because what God has for you is bigger than you think, and he is not just concerned with giving it to you, he is concerned with making sure you are ready for it. So when you find yourself facing delays, opposition, uncertainty, do not see it as punishment. Do not see it as a sign that you are failing. See it as a test, an opportunity to prove that you are ready for what is next. Because when you pass the test, when you push through the process, when you refuse to let go of what God has spoken, that is when the breakthrough happens.